I never thought, something that I do just for me, which is to sing, to hide in a group of voices. And I don't say hide in a bad way. I just mean, to blend in with a group of people. I never thought that would lead me to a solo trip for a week in Manhattan singing at Carnegie Hall. One of the things.
Fantastic.
So fun. It was so fun. It was so fun in ways that I did not expect it to be fun.
Really?
Yes. Like one of the ways that it was fun, cliffhanger alert, you're going to have to tune in to find out what was fun about the trip. On this episode 107 of the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, in part 1, I talk about my self-care practice of singing and how that led me to Carnegie Hall totally unexpectedly. And then in part 2, Natascha and I wax poetic about our love for the TV show Love on the Spectrum and how it's been an amazing tool in talking to our tweens and teens about dating and communication and relationships. All of that on this, the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, starting now. Hi, welcome to Thursday morning live broadcast with Allegra of Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. And my friend and frequent collaborator, Natascha, will be joining us shortly. But so happy to have you here. Excited to be back. If you caught last week's podcast, then you know that it was a rebroadcast because I was out of town. And before we get started, so just so you know, so today's topics, today we're going to talk about one, my self-care practice and how that self-care practice led me to Carnegie Hall this past week. That's right, Carnegie Hall in New York City. Who knew? And then in the second half of the podcast, I'm going to talk about how I love the show Love on the Spectrum and that it has been such a great way to teach dating concepts to my kiddo. I mean, honestly, when have you ever had an opportunity like this to peek in on young people's dating lives and, like a more realistic version rather than a, game show, reality show sort of setup? I mean, it is a reality show, but if you've seen it, then you know how it's different. And so it's been such a great opportunity to show my kiddo, hey, this is what dating can look like. And here's how you might want to communicate with someone. So anyway, so we'll talk about that. Hopefully Natascha will be in to join us for that. But as always, I'd like to start out with pulling a quote. And wherever you're watching, if you comment, I will see it. So feel free to comment and chat wherever you are. And so I'm just going to pull a quote from this little deck of cards. Let's see what she's got for me today. There are many wonderful things that will never be done if you do not do them. There are many wonderful things that will never be done if you do not do them. Charles D. Gill. I'm always amazed at the depth and breadth of this little box because I've never seen this quote before. I don't know who Charles Gill is. Okay, so there are wonderful things that will never be done if you do not do them. Oh, I see my friend Natascha has joined me. Are you ready, Natascha? Yes? Okay.
Hi. Sorry, my computer took forever to boot up today. Hi, how are you?
Hey, welcome. So I just pulled my quote. Hold on. I didn't get to finish my green drink. So I'm trying to finish this up. So the quote is, there are many wonderful things that will never be done if you do not do them. Charles Gill. So I feel like there are a couple different ways to interpret this, right? Like one way you can interpret it is, well, someone's got to do it. This thing that I want to do, someone's got to do it. So why not me?
Yeah.
Or the other way you can do it is just that, hey, the things that you want to do, go out and do them, which, is kind of a perfect segue into the first topic, which is talking about how my self-care routine got me to Carnegie Hall last week.
Nice. The way that occurs to me is like, it's just it's a different tack on like, you're running out of time, do the things you need to do. And like more like, hey, there's beautiful, wonderful things that you have brewing inside you, like one of those things where it's like, don't deny the world whatever wonderfulness that you are, kind of, don't put
Absolutely.
light under a bushel. It comes from less of a time perspective and more of a, like a value perspective.
Like, don't hide your gifts.
Right, exactly. And for me, that speaks to me, that gives me less anxiety than like, oh my God, look how old you are and look at how little you are, and we're all gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, that's true too. It's less anxiety inducing.
Absolutely. I once heard a great quote that is actually it's not a quote. It's a way that a certain people in Africa refer to someone's passing. Like how we say, "Oh, someone's passed."
Yeah.
Their expression translates as their library has burned down. Meaning, like, each of us is a collection of experiences, or books, if you will, a collection of experiences that is totally unique, that will never happen again.
Oh my God. That is such a wild way to think of it. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah.
So share
Wow.
your library
Share your library
with the world, because there is no one who will ever have the collection of experiences and knowledge and talents and passions that you have.
Yeah. Unique.
It's funny because people wonder why I, have a podcast and train and write books and do stand-up comedy. And I always answer with, well, I clearly have a lot to say. And all these different venues, like I can say very different things in stand-up comedy
Yeah.
than I can say in my trainings versus my podcast. And that's why I like having these different formats, because I'm able to share different messages. And so that's my library, right?
Glad that you've got your library out there for everyone to take part in.
My library is open for business. Come and borrow a book. I am spitting them out at you. So yes, so I love thinking about it from that point of view, right? You have something special and unique that will never be duplicated. So please share it with us. Yay, I love that. Okay. So I just got back from being in New York for a week.
Yay.
Yes, and so the spoiler alert is that I sang in Carnegie Hall.
Because you practiced.
Right, I did. I practiced so much. I was practicing 5 hours a day. I have never rehearsed for anything except when I'm working on a new training, I will rehearse that much. But other than that, I have never rehearsed this much in my life in one day for something. And it's so interesting because singing at Carnegie Hall was not on my bucket list. However, I love community singing, and it's part of my self-care. Like, there is something about community singing. I've been doing community singing since I was in 3rd grade. And actually, it's funny because at my school, I learned about it in 1st grade, and I was counting down the days until I was going to be 8 years old and could audition for the choir. And I still remember my choir conductor's name, Paul Solomonovich, who I didn't know, but he was a really big deal because he also conducted the LA Master Chorale in addition to my little school. So I had this amazing conductor, and I still remember some of the songs that we sang because he took it very seriously. Like, we weren't singing, just like, I remember we had to do the song Jerusalem, right? It was like Jerusalem,
Wow.
I was like 8 years old singing this little song, or not so little song. And so I love community singing, by doing, because I do stand up. Like, you might think like, oh, I always want to be the center of attention. I love being able to fade into the chorus of voices. It's so nice. And well, one, it's low pressure, but two, just that feeling of being a part of something bigger. And in my opinion, music and dance, they just speak to something primal in us. Like, when you get to dance with a group, when you get to sing with a group, it feels different than when you're doing it alone.
Oh yeah, for sure. Very different. Yeah. Yeah. Very primal, like you said.
And so,
Absolutely.
and yeah, very primal. And so I had actually auditioned for one of the chorales back when my kiddo was younger, and the rehearsal schedule didn't work for me. And so when I joined this women's organization that I belonged to about 4 years ago, and I found out they had a choral group, I was like, I'm there. That's for me.
Nice.
And so yeah. So I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And a year and a half ago, our conductor said, Hey, I've been invited to apply for us to sing at Carnegie Hall. And, in my choral group, there's about 50 of us, and there's a lot of musical background in the choral group. And some people were super excited about it. Some people had actually, one person's actually already sung at Carnegie Hall twice before.
Oh,
So
wow.
so she was like, "Y'all, we have to do this. It's amazing. It's fantastic." And I was kind of, well, I don't know. We'll see if it works out for me because unfortunately it's during the school year and it kind of depended on if my kiddo needed me. But I kind of always had it in the back of my mind, like, okay, here's the placeholder. I bought my plane ticket. I set things up as if I was going, although I didn't really know if I would be going. Really, even up until 3 months ago, I didn't know if I was going to go. It really depended on, hey, kiddo, do you think you'll be okay with the third to last week of school without me here?
Mhm.
And she said yes. She gave me her blessing to go forth,
Great.
go forth and sing.
Mhm. Great.
And yeah, and so I never thought, something that I do just for me, which is to sing, to hide in a group of voices. And I don't say hide in a bad way. I just mean, to blend in with a group
Mhm.
of people. I never thought that would lead me to a solo trip for a week in Manhattan singing at Carnegie Hall. One of the
So
things.
fantastic.
So fun. It was so fun. It was so fun in ways that I did not expect it to be fun.
Really?
Yes. Like, one of the ways that it was fun that was totally unexpected was that it was kind of like I got to pretend I was an NYC resident for a week because I had to be somewhere
That's
every
fun, right?
day. Like, I either had a rehearsal
Mhm.
or a concert every single day. We had 2 concerts and we had, I don't know, 5 rehearsals. And I had to go to different places because the rehearsals moved around. And
Yeah.
and let me tell you, I have been to Manhattan I don't know, a dozen times, 15 times, and I have ridden in cabs. I've ridden on the subway twice in all of those years of
Oh.
going
Uh-huh. Mhm.
because it was intimidating, right? Like, it's a little bit of an intimidating system, which I don't know why I was so intimidated because I've done the French subway system, which is like, whoa, like really intense. But anyway, all I can say is that the apps are so good now that
Crazy
crazy
amazing.
good.
It's
Because last
insane.
time I was there,
It's so
yes,
insane.
so anyone going
Mhm.
to Manhattan,
Mhm.
public transpo is so easy now, so easy.
It's so
S
easy. Yeah, it's
It's
wildly
wildly
different than it
different because
used
I
to
was
be.
last there 9 years ago, and it
Mhm.
wasn't like it is now. And
Mm-mm.
because you go all the time. You're from that area, you're there, like, every year,
Mhm.
aren't you? Every summer?
Yeah, I remember the subways in the '80s when you definitely didn't wanna take the subways,
When was the
And
transition?
so,
What year did these apps become so good?
oh, the apps weren't even a factor, 10
Okay.
years ago. Like that wasn't even a
Mhm.
thing. And then, I, honestly, I don't know exactly when, because I was using the trains and then the subway, and so I don't honestly I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's a huge game
Such
changer. You don't have to know the subway map back to
No.
front in order to get where you need to go. You can just, plug it in and it'll tell you. And it tells you, when the train is coming too, which is
And
insane.
well,
You
okay.
know what I mean? Like to the
It's
minute.
amazing, it's
It's
amazing.
crazy.
Let me
Hmm.
just say these few things for anyone who is doubting us. Let me just enumerate for you how amazing it is. For one thing, in the days, you had to, like, have a subway map, and you'd be like, "Hello, I'm a tourist looking at the
Hmm.
subway map," you know? Now,
Hmm.
all you have to do
Hmm.
is look at your phone, and guess what? Everyone's looking at their phone. So you don't stand
Right.
out at all as a tourist looking at your phone, okay?
Hmm.
Secondly, now almost all the subways have internet connection. So
Hmm.
I actually jumped onto a train because there were 2 trains I could take, it didn't matter which one, and they were the only ones coming through this station. So the doors were open as I go through the turnstile. So I jumped on and I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what train I'm on. Hmm." And the
Yeah.
train did not have a big red number or letter like a lot of them do. It was like a
Mhm.
gray, like Atari pixelated thing. And so I didn't see it right
Yeah.
away, but before I
Mhm.
found it, I looked at my phone and it said, "Train W departing the station." I was like, "Oh, I'm on train W departing the station." And you can literally just watch on your phone as the stations pass. So you don't have to be staring at like, "Okay, what's my stop? What's my stop?" Um, that was
Mhm.
so amazing. And then the third amazing thing is that you don't even need a Metro card anymore. You literally take a credit card,
Your
yeah, a
phone.
credit card that
Mhm.
has an RFD,
Yeah.
or you use your Bluetooth-enabled phone, and you tap the
Mhm.
turnstile. And
Mhm.
it keeps track of transfers, so if you tap the same card on the same journey and you're going on multiple things, you only get charged once. And this
Y
message brought to you by New York City Metro. If you hit, I think it's $32 or $34 in a week, the rest of the week is free.
Yeah, so you play it. Yeah, so it makes it far more. I mean, I remember the days when you had actual
Yeah.
tokens, and then they switched to Metro cards, and now it's But yeah, I mean, like it's similar here in LA, with the tapping and the ease of use. I don't think that you can use your Google Maps to get you on public transportation
Yes.
all over. It doesn't have as precise, obviously, of like, oh, your train's arriving in 1 minute or blah blah blah, that kind of thing, on Google Maps,
Right.
obviously. But yeah, it's all moving. It's moving and shaking. It's definitely certainly in this
Okay, so this
century.
podcast
Or
brought to you
yeah.
by New York Metro Transit Authority. So if you're going to Manhattan, do not be scared. I even took the public transport all the way in from the airport to my friends. I had to do 3 transfers. It took me less than an
Mhm.
hour to get from LaGuardia to Murray Hill. So easy. And
Yeah, it's LA could take a page from that.
yeah, and
For
it cost
sure.
me
Yeah, they've got
$2.90 versus an $80
that.
cab. Like,
Yeah, easily
yeah,
$80,
no
maybe more. Hmm.
no-brainer. Okay, so
Yeah.
the fun thing was getting to play NYC Resident, running around to rehearsals and stuff like that, and having to figure out the public transportation system. So that was just really fun. It was kind of like borrowing someone else's life for a week. And yeah, and that
Fun.
was fun. And then I ended up having a concert at St. John the Divine, which I've never been
Oh,
to. Have you been inside?
I have been
Okay,
inside. Yeah.
so I didn't even know that this might be a thing that I'd wanna see. It's the largest cathedral in the United States. I
Go ahead. Yes.
I
Yeah.
I
It's
didn't know we
crazy.
had anything that big here.
It's wild.
It
Yeah, it's
apparently,
huge.
you can fit 2 Notre Dames inside.
Oh my
And
goodness. That I
yeah,
didn't
and
know.
the Statue of Liberty, I think she can lay down in it or stand up, I don't know, one of the 2. It's big. It's big.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
concert was so special because I had a solo, and it was just our chorale group, which we were
Ooh.
about 30 people, and it was also a little intimidating because guess what? You don't get to do, like, a sound check in there, it's like a working cathedral.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if I was going to be able to make an impact on this vacuous space. But that was such a special experience. I will never forget singing in St. John the Divine. And if you're going to Manhattan, put it on your list of places to visit because it is so cool. Not just the architecture and stuff is cool, but, like, it's a cool space. They do a lot of events.
Mm.
They're really a
Oh.
community center, not just.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
it's interesting. They have, like, all these
Mhm.
little, like, chapel of the artist, chapel of the first responder, chapel, they have all these little, uh, I shouldn't say little, but all of these, uh, special interests that they support through their work. It's a really great space. Check it out. I can't believe I'd never been there before. It's fantastic.
It it definitely gets overlooked, right? Because St. Patrick's is Midtown, and everybody thinks about St. Patrick. It's right across the street from Rockefeller Center, so it's like it gets a lot more
Right.
play, so, or at least notoriety. Yeah, it's
It's
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
It's amazing.
And it's
Yeah.
so interesting because it's been built over such a long period of time. It kind of reminds me of La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, where it has a lot of different styles. So if you want to kind of see different styles kind of colliding in one piece of architecture, that's interesting. And it's right by Colombia. So if you're going to Colombia, just make the trek to St. John because it is well worth your time. I'm so glad I'm just so glad I got to visit. Like, it was such an interesting place. And yeah, it was so fun. And I got to see friends that I haven't, spend really quality time with, my friends who live over there who I don't always get to see. So I'm so glad that my commitment to, artistic expression as a form of self-care led me to have this 1-week trip in Manhattan that fed me in so many ways that I was expecting and wasn't expecting.
That's so awesome. It's so wonderful. I mean, I love New York. It's obviously different living there, but like, it has a special place in my heart, of course, because I grew up in that area, was born in Manhattan, but it's magical to me. I know it's changed a lot over the years and people have things to say. People always have things to say, it was better this decade. It was better that decade. But for me, it's always been a magical place. And it has a special place in my heart. So yeah, I love New York. I love it. So I'm so glad you had such a fun time and that you get to, it is fun to pretend to be a resident for, like to play at cosplay.
Exactly.
Being a resident.
Cosplay. I like
it's
that.
super fun.
Yeah, and actually I got to practice my packing light rules, which if you want to get my packing light template, it's a 4-page long how to pack light. It includes photographs, tinyurl.com/bywd pack light. So because I was going, I couldn't lose my concert dress. So I didn't want to.
Right.
And so I'm glad I have my packing light down pat because I was able to, go for a week and just check luggage. And that was great. So, okay.
Do you have a special item that you absolutely can't travel without, either for the flight or just when you're traveling? Is there a little gadget-y thing or something that you really love?
Yes. It is my eye mask.
Yes. Yes. Mine too.
I have a eye mask. It is red silk and it says in cursive writing, "Do not disturb."
Do not wake me up to ask me
Exactly.
if I want peanuts, okay? Let me sleep. I don't need any peanuts.
So I take it on the plane, and it's also great when you get to your destination because you never know how much light is going to be coming in. I did not used to be light sensitive, but I have light blocking curtains at home, and so I've gotten used to that. And so now light will wake me up, and so it was nice to have that at my friend's place because sure enough,
I don't go anywhere without it.
Yeah.
I don't camp without it because exactly that. The sun rises and you're in a tent and it's starting to get light at 5 a.m. and that will wake me up. Yeah, so I don't travel without an eye mask either.
Yes, so my eye mask absolutely is the thing. I also like to carry a small notebook, but I carry it with me everywhere. It's in my bag at home too, because I never know when I want to write something down. But when I'm traveling, I often try and sketch a scene. I'm not good by any means, but I just like to it's just a different way to experience a scene when you're trying to capture it on paper. And it's a fun memory.
Yeah, that's fun.
I think you've seen me do that when we go camping. I often.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I love it. That's a great thing because absolutely, making notes or journaling seems, and if you're not an everyday, you're not an artist in the sense that you're a sketcher or a painter or whatever, that and so it is. I was like, oh, I never really thought about that, because I don't consider myself that either, but I do like to craft and be artistic, and like you said, in self-care through artistic expression.
Yes.
You don't have to be good.
No, you don't have to be good
to do it.
It's just a fun memory to capture something, sketching it rather than with a picture. And also it's in a different place, right? Like a lot of times the pictures we take with our phones don't ever end up going anywhere.
Right.
Okay.
Thousands
of them. Although I do make a habit, and I'll just share this really quickly. I love this service called Touch Note, which whenever I come whenever I come back from something, I will upload a couple of pictures and create a postcard, and then that postcard I send it to I'll capture some thoughts from the trip, and then I send it to myself, and then I put that in my planner. Like Natasha actually just got one the other
Nice.
day, right?
Mhm. It's so awesome. It's so great. It's fantastic.
We went
Yeah.
camping together, and I sent her a postcard with a couple pictures and then just funny things that our kids had said.
So
And then
fun.
Natasha sent me one back with a really great photo also taken on that camping trip. So that's a really fun thing. Check out Touch Note.
It is. It's fun. We were old school to get things snail mail, but it's also really fun too, because how many times have you bought? Well, I'll speak for myself. How many times have you been on a trip where you bought postcards? Maybe you're in a foreign country, so like maybe you don't have like getting the stamps and whatever to send it from there. You might not do it, right? Or maybe and then you bring it home and you intend to send it from home, and then you
Yes.
don't. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you, I have lots of those postcards from places and like 4 or 5 of them of the same one, because I was going to send it to 4 or 5 people, And so Touch Note is great because you will send it. It's right there. You just and it's. I think people also just, rather than like the New York City skyline, would love to see a picture of Allegra, in St. John's Cathedral, or
Right.
and would rather get that, I think, than a picture of the Statue of Liberty,
Yes.
And then I don't know. You actually send
it gets sent. You can do it right then. It's so fast and easy. This episode also brought to you by touchnote.com.
Touch Note, yeah. Listen, you gotta get some sponsorship.
Touch Note, NYCMTA. You need me.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, if you all want to see, I put together a little 3-minute video about my trip to New York City. You can see it all over the place: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to go see that, you can see it, and you can even hear me singing a teeny bit of my solo.
Ooh.
So there you go. By the way, at some point we're going to have to talk about the different conductors that we worked with in New York City, because there was one she was such a magnificent leader. I really just want to talk about her and her leadership style. So we'll have to do that in a separate podcast, because right now we need to talk about Love on the Spectrum.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so part 2 of the podcast, dating. How do you teach your kids how to act on a date? Natasha and I both have young teenagers. They're going to be 15. And so I remember when I started watching Love on the Spectrum, my little was not. When did Love on the Spectrum come out? Like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, I want to say, as a family, we watched it last year. So I don't know when it came out. We watched all the seasons last year. So we watched the 2 American ones and the 2 Australian ones.
Yes.
Is that right? We couldn't get enough of it, honestly. And I want to say it was last year. Maybe it was, I want to say it's 2024 is when we watched it. And it was fantastic. Really, really well done.
So maybe it's 3 years old, right? So
yeah.
So when we first saw it, our kids weren't necessarily the age where we were thinking like, oh, this would be a great thing to watch with them. But then I had watched it, I think, when it came out 3 or 4 years ago. And then last year I had this idea of, oh, this would be a great thing for my kiddo to see, just kind of see how people interact on dates. Because when else do you get to be on a fly on a wall of someone else's date?
When it's not like Love Island or some kind of like jacked up, insane, unrealistic reality, or The Bachelor or Bachelorette, because these
are not real.
These are not real scenarios. Yeah, like getting a rose at the end and being like, "Will you be my?" That's not how that works. Newsflash, right?
But the other thing that's amazing is that the people and that they cast are so honest, both with themselves and with other people, that they are just able to kind of cut through the crap so much faster.
It's extraordinary. Yeah, it's really extraordinary. Honestly, the way that they approach it. And then they have coaches that coach people through, their first date or something, and help them, enact scenarios. And it's such an amazing, there's such a great expression and example of boundaries. There's a great expression of honesty, like you said, and really also still taking care of the other person inside of your honesty, and they know themselves so well, which I think is like, as a teenager, I can tell you right now, my 14-year-old, he's got a great sense of self, but he's still, of course, exploring and stuff like that. So the people on the show are adults, and they also they're on the spectrum as well, and they just really know their likes and dislikes. So that's a great advantage. But because of that, they can very quickly say, this is not going to work for me, or this is going to work for me. Like, there's some dating advice out there where, you tell the person right away, like, hey, I'm really looking for a partner. I'm looking for a husband or a wife or whatever, like right away on the first date. And some people balk at that idea. They're like, oh my God, why would you say that? And of course their thought is, why waste yours and their time? If they're looking for something completely different, why get 6 months into the relationship and then have that conversation and that person go, oh yeah, it's not on my radar at all, and that kind of thing. So I think like there's so many lessons inside of this show, and also you get so invested in their love life and how it goes for them. And and I know that a lot of, it's reality show, so it's how things are edited and so forth, but I do feel like the producers are very respectful of the cast members and the dates that they're on, and it really is, I feel like it's very well done. It's not exploitive, where a lot of reality shows can be that. And you really do root so strongly for these people to find love, and it's so wonderful. Oh, my 12-year-old is always like, when there's kissing, he's always he's still in that in that phase where like, oh no. But it is really great. I think they learned a lot from watching these shows.
Well, and I think too, like, it was so interesting. I remember one of the first episodes, there was a man who was really into dinosaurs. And he asked the other person, like, are you interested in dinosaurs? And she said no. And his face was just like crushed. Like, and you could see he was like, well, there's no point in going any further, because like, it's my passion. And if you can't enjoy it, like, you should find someone who enjoys your passions. And I 100% agree with that. Like, I think in like, I don't even know if we need to label it in neurotypical dating, whatever, but just in
100%,
mainstream dating, we tend to think like, oh, well, I can put up with that, or I can fix that, or I can change that. And like, why? If he likes dinosaurs, he has the right to be with someone who likes dinosaurs,
Absolutely.
And so,
and they also really show you how they practice being flexible too, right? So inside of, like, for that person, that's a deal breaker. Dinosaurs is a deal breaker. But she's into, I don't know, My Little Pony, and and he's like, okay, I can get down with her talking to me about all the My Little Ponies. You know what I mean? Like, so finding a way to be flexible inside of it too, and practicing their flexibility and talking about and recognizing that sometimes they have a hard time, being flexible. Is also a great journey too. So it's like, know what you want and be okay to be and ask for that, or know that that's a deal breaker, but also finding those places where you could be flexible.
Yes,
too.
absolutely. And then also there's great coaching that happens that you could replicate with your kiddo. I coach my kiddo on what to say all the time. We went around to local businesses and she passed out resumes, and I walked her through, like, let's practice. What would you say? And we tweaked it and she practiced it. And they do that. So there's a coach who, she had this one exercise where she had a ball that they were passing back and forth to each other, right? They were on the ground and they were just rolling the ball to each other. And while they were rolling the ball, she would ask typical date questions like, oh, what do you like to do? Roll the ball. And the ball rolling one was to give the idea of taking turns, because some of the people are very honest about the fact that they love to talk. And the coach is like, that's great. On a date, though, you want to share the talking. But the ball rolling is also great because, hey, when you're on a date, there are other things happening. And sometimes it can be hard to stay focused on what it is that you want to, accomplish, which is getting to know this person. And so I thought it was just such a great exercise and a great way to kind of get out of your head and practice. How would you have a conversation with somebody that you don't really know? So that was fantastic and easy to do at home.
I cannot recommend this show enough for just, whether you have kids entering dating age or already in dating age or past dating, regardless, I feel like it's an amazing show regardless, but especially if you have tweens or teens, It's also such a great way to have conversations inside of or around the subject, right? Because afterwards, after a show, you can, discuss what you thought about how so and so's date went and how they handled it and that kind of thing. Plus, my kid had questions, like he didn't know. He was like, well, what? We paused and talked about things like, what's a lesbian? And he's like, this woman's talking about being a lesbian. What is that? And then he just didn't know that there was a word. He knows that there are gay women. He just didn't know. He didn't know there was a word specific to that, right? So that's also another great entry point to this conversation, because it's entertaining and engaging, and then your kid's going to want to talk about it, which sometimes this is can be a touchy subject, just how awkwardly get into this conversation, but this is a great pathway.
Absolutely. And the other thing I really like about the show is just the faith that each of these people have that there's someone out there for them, and that it would be better to wait for that someone than to settle for someone who's not exactly right for them. I mean, I think settling is just not even in, at least these cast members, it's just not in their vocabulary. They would rather be alone than be with someone who's not a good fit. I think that's such a great mindset to be in when you're dating. So
I think, and what is your take on, because there's definitely, now having watched like SS 5 seasons, there seems to be a lot of, not a lot, but there at least a few, I can think of a few times of some of the female identifying cast members talking about being a princess, finding their prince, being treated like a princess, and this kind of thing. So that to me is very interesting, that that's already in like the zeitgeist of dating as it is, but it's very heavily prevalent in this, and it's interesting to me that it's very prevalent, and I'm thinking like, gosh, Disney, your reach is deep, careful what you put out there, it's an interesting thing.
Well,
to me.
especially because it's more
I don't know how I
prevalent
feel
in
about
the
it.
American series, right? Than the
Yeah, I think, yeah, I
than
think
the
that's true.
Australian series. I mean, it is what it is.
Right, because so like one cast member was into dinosaurs. Several of them are really into princesses and collecting princess dolls and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's a noticeable thing,
Definitely.
and yeah, it might be more American based. Yeah, I'd have to. I don't remember exactly. Sometimes the casts are kind of amalgamating for me. There's no. I don't want to give any spoiler alerts for anybody. Well, actually, this might be a spoiler alert if you want to watch this and you haven't yet. I in this third season, and he's been in all 3 seasons, David, who is Abby's special friend, he's wonderful with her in that he gives all this space. It's just another thing that's an example of how a partner can show up for you, where he has just a ton of space for when she has trouble with something or has anxiety around something, and he's there to be a grounding influence of like really helping her get through some difficult portions or moments. And it's such another good example. This is an example of a couple that's actually now gone through several seasons. And so it goes even beyond just like the initial dates and so forth, like, so you can see an example of a way to be inside of a relationship, even when maybe your partner is freaking out.
And then Abby's song. How amazing was Abby's song?
I could cry right now just thinking of it. I mean, it is amazing. Yeah. It's
you have to tune in to see that. The other thing too, another example of a couple showing up for each other, Connor and Georgia, when Connor is they're wanting to, I don't remember if it was he wanted to hug her or kiss her, and all of his emotions are right there on his face, the struggle that he's going through. And she just, puts out an arm and says, just breathe. It's okay. Just breathe. And, you know, it could have been a very embarrassing experience for him. And instead, it was just
Mhm.
a beautiful example of someone accepting a person for who they are and what they're going through and helping them through
Mhm.
it. And then they had this lovely moment that was just so em heartwarming and
Heartwarming.
beautiful,
Yeah.
and, like,
Mhm.
who doesn't want that kind of support from their loved
Right.
one? And also too, there were, what, 2 main characters, characters is the wrong word, 2 main, cast
Cast
members
members.
who have been on the
Uh-huh.
show all 3 seasons, had not found
Mhm.
love. We'd seen them date many people. They both found love this season,
Oh my
and
goodness.
it was just, you know, again, such a testament to knowing what they wanted and waiting
Mhm.
until they found it, and then looking at
And
how well matched they
feel
are now.
and also dealing with disappointment, right? You don't want you love them, you're invested so quickly that you don't want them to be disappointed. And that's another thing, like as parents, right? We want our kids to be happy, right? But we really need to help guide them through tolerating unpleasant
Mhm.
emotions. And this is another great example of that too.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
So many great lessons. So if watch it for
Watch it
yourself,
again.
watch it with your kids. It's such an easy entree to start talking about,
Mhm.
you know, having romantic relationships and what that might look like, and, you know, where your kiddo is with questions about that. So highly, highly recommend. Again, this
Mhm.
podcast brought to you by
I'm on the spectrum.
So thank you so much for joining me, Natascha. It was so much fun to chat with you about these things.
Always. Yeah.
And thank you for listening. I am here every Thursday live. You can also always re-listen to this as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. And again, if you want my packing light freebie, tinyurl.com/BYWD pack light. This won't be free for much longer. I'm actually going to be changing some of these freebies so that they're going to be like little $3 products that you can buy. But for right now, grab it while it's free. And as always, planning makes everything easier. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening to the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to rate and like and subscribe and do all the things so that we can show up when you need us.